there were protests that basically carried through the weekend and around the country, and certainly in the days leading up to Thanksgiving. On Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, traditionally in this city, we have the Macy's Day Parade. And there were protesters who were basically trying to remind people that, it's a parade is all well and good, but we also have a problem in this country where if you are a black male, you really just don't get to live the life that you would if you were a white male in terms of your relationship in particular, or at least specifically on this occasion, marking, when it comes to the police in this country. And there was another horrible story of a 12-year-old in Cleveland who was shot. And we will get to that as well. But meanwhile, in New York on Thursday, there were protesters at the Macy's Day Parade. Here is how Pix 11, Pix is the local, I don't know, I guess that it used to be a UHF channel, but it's a local New York City channel, talking about how the parade fortunately goes on.
Unexpected drama today at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, the biggest of its kind, as you know, in the world. Millions line 6th Avenue for the traditional and eye-opening event, and keeping a close eye on everything, lots of NYPD officers. But that did not stop protesters from trying to bring this parade to a screeching halt. They did not succeed, but they did manage to get a little roughed up by police. Pix 11's
I don't know how this thing comes to a screeching halt. If you've ever watched the Macy's Day Parade, it's not like it's going 40 miles an hour. All right, continue.
Mario Diaz joins us now live in Midtown with details on this. What were they protesting, Mario?
Well, Kaidi, it was the same message we've been hearing all week long, only it was directed at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade at one point. As you can see, though, right now here on West 37th Street, the police barricades are on the sidewalk, and traffic is now being allowed onto this street. The congestion you see here right now, much different than what we saw here hours ago. Protesters, along with handcuffs, are not scenes normally associated with the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But the two were served up this morning, minutes before the first group of floats soared past 6th Avenue and 37th Street. About an hour prior to this garbage container being tipped over and protesters being detained with hand ties, NYPD Commissioner Bill Bratton had this to say about any potential disruptions by Ferguson protesters during the parade.
We'll be prepared for that, and let's hope they're smart enough and courteous enough not to engage in that activity today.
Minutes later, Commissioner Bratton added,
"This is a national event, a historic event. Anybody who will seek to interrupt it will be very callous indeed on this very special day."
Shortly after those comments, approximately 50 protesters began to gather around the New York Public Library. Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Protesting the developments this week in Ferguson, as well as the Eric Garner case on Staten Island, the protesters went on the move. On the floor. Marching down 5th Avenue, they made a turn west on 37th. Intersecting with the parade route, as well as those who had been standing for hours along 6th Avenue. As they crossed 6th Avenue into 37th Street, protesters tried to make a U-turn, but the NYPD prevented any attempts to get back onto 6th. It wasn't long before the standoff turned into agitation, which ultimately led to this. The NYPD took down several protesters who they say were not being cooperative with what was being asked of them and who were trying to make it back onto the parade route.
Where is your humanity?
A total of 7 protesters were arrested for disorderly conduct. Their Thanksgiving ending in this NYPD prisoners bus. As for the parade itself, it was never interrupted.
There you go. The parade was never interrupted. Thank God we didn't allow any type of protest or any notion of the reality that millions in this country deal with, in any way tarnish the parade of attempting to sell kids cartoon characters.
Also in the video, when the reporter goes, and then this, and you hear like a little bit of like a crash, it's actually a protester slowly tipping over a single garbage can.
That's right. A single garbage can was turned over and it's unbelievable, the drama, that these I'm glad that it got some coverage, but of course it was all about the drama of garbage being tipped over.
Well,
rather than add even one fact to give some context as to why people might protest.
Well, and not only that, I like the whole set for the segment is she goes, what exactly are they protesting? And he goes, well, it's the same thing we've heard all week.
That's
like, it's this whole innocent black men are being gunned down by the police.
It would be nice
Nothing
at the very
new
least
here.
if they even articulated. But all it was as if these sort of like just renegade,
everybody
crazy
knows.
people coming in to, how could you possibly prevent the kids from seeing the Peanuts characters?
That's also
on time?
true. If you don't know if you don't know Ferguson, you could think, well, okay, the same thing I've heard about traffic on the Upper West Side, the same thing I've heard about anything.
It's unbelievable.
Incredible.